It's time for another episode of MoState Update, the official podcast of Missouri State Athletics. Here are your hosts, Corey Riggs, and the voice of the Bears, Art Hains.
Hello, I'm Art Hains along with Corey Riggs, and welcome to our first ever MoState Update. This will be a regular podcast throughout the academic year at Missouri State. We'll keep you up to date on all the sports in their appropriate seasons. Corey, this has been talked about for a while. I'm glad we're doing it.
No, it's really exciting to try and get something like this up and off the ground. You know, a lot of people consume, especially their sports and entertainment content via podcast platforms now. Whether you're an Apple subscriber or a Spotify or Amazon, whatever the platform, and we're going to be available on most of the major platforms. So whether you're trying to be involved in this one, the MoState Update, and this our pilot, our first episode, or if you're looking for, say, Inside the Den, the coaches' shows, whether they're right now with head coach Ryan Beard talking about football, or when we change over to basketball season, Conzo Martin and Beth Cunningham, as well as some radio recaps. We've even started, we talked about it, and we knew that nobody, maybe other than my mom and dad, would want to re-listen to a radio broadcast. But if you take, say, the first segment of the pregame show, which is kind of your scene setter, then you take the first half highlights and the second half highlights and put that together with Ryan Beard's post-game interview, you've got a nice little 15-minute recap there of the football game. So we've put those up as well, and you can find all of them up on now the Missouri State website. It's got a built-in internal player there in the Fan Central section, or you can go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, and start enjoying those.
I noticed you didn't mention your wife among the possible consumers of game replays, and my wife would be in the same category.
Well, that's fair. I say Maggie does listen live occasionally, but I don't think she'll be downloading. Although I'm going to tell her the thing about these podcasts is the more people that subscribe and listen, that kind of the better the deal is. So she may not want to listen to it, but I think I may get her phone and subscribe for her. That way it helps us out.
Very good. Well, like we say, a lot going on right now early in the academic year, although we're at fall break. Football team is rolling. 4 wins in a row. Last week, a statement win at Illinois State, 41-7, as Jacob Clark, 24 of 31 for 338 and 3 touchdowns, his third 300-yard passing game of the year.
I'll ask you about this. Rick Kindhart and I were talking about this on the drive back. In the Missouri State Football Media Guide, there is a list for quarterbacks with 200-yard passing games. Yep. And guys that have had 12 in a season or 12 in a career. I told Rick, I said, I think we're in the world now in offense where you're going to have to add another category, and you're going to have a spot for 300-yard games.
Sure. Because
that's just where the offense and the genesis of the game has kind of taken us now, is these big, gaudy offensive numbers. And with Nick Petrino calling the shots and such a consistent and with the completion rate that Jacob Clark is throwing, at which 70-80% a game at times, they're going to continue to be big numbers put up by this talented set of wide receivers.
Well, a huge game all the way around at Illinois State. Offense, defense, special teams. Grant Burkett launched a 79-yard punt, which is tied for the longest in school history, checked up beautifully and was down to the 1-yard line. And as far as defense is concerned, you lose Todrick McGee to an injury, find out it's for the season, but his replacement had 2 interceptions.
Yeah, Tavier Williams comes in and does something that the Bears defense hasn't seen happen since Jared Beshore was patrolling the back end of the defense back in 2018. He's now the head coach at Lamar, but Beshore had a 2-interception game. So it's been 6 years since we've had a defensive back, or any player on the defense for that matter, come up with 2 picks. But Tavier came in and just literally picked up the torch and ran with it, with Todrick being out injured. And we wish him nothing but the best in his recovery. But the defense does well. The offense does well. It is that cliche coach speak of a complete game, all three aspects. It was dominating, and it was dominating on the home field of the number 16 team in the country. Now, whether you think the pollsters got it right or got it wrong, Illinois State had the number 16 ranking when the Bears went up there and whooped them.
And the Bears have the number 20 ranking now.
Yes, they do. Missouri State moved up to what started last week at number 25, so that matchup between the Bears and the Redbirds was a top 25 battle on the coaches' poll side. Now Missouri State pulls up 5 more spots to number 20, but still not going to be in that FCS Stats Perform ranking for whatever reason. I guess what we're hearing is that they really have decided they didn't need to rank Missouri State because of their move to Conference USA and out of FCS football next year. They just think if you're not eligible for the postseason, I guess you don't need to be ranked.
Well, the Bears will continue to build their case. Homecoming week and all that goes with that, and the football game Saturday with Indiana State.
And it should be just like Chamber of Commerce weather, right? Like 75 degrees on that day. And Indiana State is struggling. You'll hear from the coaching staff that this is a team that has been better since over the last 5 years. They have been a better team. They recently got a win over Murray State, but I think Murray State's probably going to finish dead last in the Valley this year. But a team that Missouri State will prepare for, try to extend the win streak to 5 in a row, and give everybody what they want, which is you need 2 really good things to have a great homecoming. You need good weather and you need a win. And the Bears are going to try and provide both on Saturday.
Absolutely. Well, other things going on in the Missouri State world of sports. The men's soccer team got a win at Belmont. They're undefeated in the conference in first place. They, of course, are used to being up at the top. Women's soccer also is in first place, and they've never won the regular season in the Valley.
They haven't, but man, what a season, and to do it with everything going on off the field. You hear coaches talk all the time about distractions. Well, what a coach never wants to be is the distraction. And Coach Kirk Nelson has battled through some health issues this year, doesn't want to be the story, wants to keep the focus on the girls. But I think his players have really fought not only for themselves but for their coach this year. And there has been a lot going on the sidelines for Missouri State women's soccer. So the fact that they've been able to keep their focus and keep stacking up wins has been really impressive.
And Grace O'Keefe, the senior leader of the team, will be our guest later on in this show. There was a baseball game played at Hammons Field last Saturday, the 8th annual Battle for Bell against Drury. And Drury was ahead 4-3 in the early going, but the Bears ended up winning 23-4.
Yes, they did. I say there's been a change. Of course, Keith Guttin, no longer the head coach of the Bears after his 42 years and his Hall of Fame career. Joey Hawkins now officially the new head coach of the Bears, and the offense definitely hasn't changed from last year to this year. 3 different players with a 2-home-run game. Caden Bogenpole with 2 home runs, Nick Rodriguez with 2 home runs, and Jake McCutcheon having 2 home runs after Kutch broke his arm last year at Indiana State and missed a good chunk of the season last year. He's coming back from injury. Nice to see that he's got some pop in his bat. But Art, maybe the most exciting part was seeing what that bullpen did on the back end. You used 6 guys to basically pitch a one-hitter from there on out. And Missouri State had brought in some new faces. Jackson Holmes is a transfer from SLU. Gabe Smith is a portal guy. Michael Yasipchuk is a Canadian-born player with a great fastball with movement and a big sort of breaking slider. Caleb Thomas, we saw him last year. He's back along with Jake Syverson and the one-time freshman All-American Garrett Ferguson. So it was a nice mix of Bears that have been on the roster and new arms that kind of was able to slam the door shut and get the Bears the Battle for Bell win last Saturday.
So, the bullpen was a huge problem last year. No lead was safe.
No.
And so this is an October exhibition game, but still good to have that kind of performance from the bullpen.
Yep, Syverson got the winning decision. Yasipchuk retired all 9 batters that he faced. Caleb Thomas and Garrett Ferguson each fanned a pair in their one inning of work. And in those exhibition games, you don't really expect to see any arm get more than an inning of work. So that's kind of the high watermark. If you can strike out 2 and get your inning in, then that's pretty good work in October. And then don't forget, of all the things that are going on this week for homecoming, it's Fall World Series week for Bears baseball as well. They will be playing inter-squad exhibitions on later this week, and they've got 1-night game and 2-day games, and you can find out about those in the press release on MissouriStateBears.com.
Both golf teams participating in tournaments this week. Monday, Tuesday format. The men's team is at Murray, Kentucky, in 6th place out of 12 teams. The women's team is in South Carolina, 6th place out of 16.
Yep, Missouri State chasing Murray State, the home team there at what they called the Buddy at Miller Golf Course. So we wish them the best of luck. And then the women being led so far by a freshman from here in Southwest Missouri, Marley Edgman. She is a Marshfield, Missouri native. Both those teams trying to finish up those tournaments here on Tuesday at the time of our recording. So hopefully we'll have good results to report on next week's show.
And, of course, the main season is in the spring, but some good competition in the fall to get ready for that.
Yeah, there's not a lot of sports that get to bridge the fall and the spring, but golf happens to be one of them if you're not familiar with how college golf works.
You bet. Well, our first MoState update, our guests are going to be football coach Ryan Beard, senior soccer standout Grace O'Keefe, and retired baseball coach Keith Guttin. So we invite you to stay with us, and Ryan Beard is up next. Welcome back to the MoState Update. Our first ever guest on the show is appropriately the head football coach of the Bears, Ryan Beard. Ryan, boy, it's really rolling now. 4 wins in a row and homecoming this week. I know this is what you had in mind when you took the job.
Art, it's been a lot of fun, man. There's a major buzz around our football program right now, and it's because of the student athletes in the program. We've got tremendous leadership from the players and the executive board. They trust the process that we've shown them, the blueprint that creates success, and I don't see us slowing down anytime soon.
The game at Illinois State last week, really a statement win. They had beaten Southern Illinois rather badly the week before, and you dominate them, jump out 31-0, win the game 41-7, really took no prisoners.
Yeah, what a tremendous effort. We talked all week about what it would take to go down there and kick the door in and finally make the statement on the conference that we needed to make. And, you know, Art, me and you have talked throughout the season about we really feel good about this football team and about the talent and the mental makeup that we have. And they put it to work, and we finally put 4 quarters of great football together, and now we know what we can be.
Yeah, that's always, every coach is looking for a full football game, and you've had a few flaws here and there, but nothing to complain about in that game. Won't happen that way every single game, but that was a good one.
Yeah, it's never going to be perfect, but that was as close to, that was a really top-notch football game in every phase. But again, when you look at it, there are still places that we can improve. There's things that we need to continue to work on this week. And, in our 4 years since we've been here, I think that Indiana State is a higher quality opponent than what they have been in the past. So we got to be ready to go. We can't take anybody lightly.
I wanted to ask you about that because I thought about that off the air after the game on Saturday. I think I mentioned it on the radio broadcast. I'm like, if you couldn't hear the joy in your voice and the joy in that locker room, then you weren't listening very closely. I think that was evident. But what were those maybe couple of things that you want to tighten up this week? Because, the special teams gave you just about everything you could have asked for short of a punt or a kickoff return for a touchdown, but you didn't let them have very many opportunities to do that. The defense forced turnovers, got to the quarterback, got 3 and outs, and then, the offense, not only was it clicking, but it was an offense this week that all of a sudden you got breakout performances by multiple other receiving targets, not to mention the fact that I thought Jaden Bex was extremely successful every time he touched the football. He was such a great compliment to Jacardier on Saturday. I imagine this week may be different than most, is that list of things to work on is a little bit shorter.
Yeah, we need to hit on that for a second, though, because that's one thing that, when you have guys that can come in and step up that haven't been, major role players throughout the year that know that their time is now, and they step up and make tremendously big plays and big football games. That's the sign of good culture in your organization from top to bottom, and it's a sign of our coaching staff making sure, because we're a little old school. We still believe in having individual technique periods during practice throughout the entire season. We believe that you can get better from week 1 to week 12 every single week, and some of the things this week, we're going to try to take away a few of the free access throws that they got on defense. Some of the quick game routes. We're going to try to get into some different techniques at corner to make sure that the quarterback can't sit out there and identify what he's got pre-snap. I think that will help us to Saturday and down the line. And then offensively, we get most of the fourth downs we go for. I feel like the 4th and 1, it got a little airy there. I thought it was a great opportunity to go for it, not have the dagger punch right there. We're always going to be aggressive. As long as I'm your head football coach, we play to win. You don't play to keep it close. You don't play to, let's not lose. No, we're a group that goes after you. We want to force the issues.
So before the game, we learned that Todrick McGee was going to be out for the rest of the season. The guy that takes his place steps in and gets 2 interceptions.
Yeah, how about that, Art? That was tremendous effort by Tavier Williams. And he's another one of those guys. I said it during the media day, and I meant every single word of it. He is a grown man in every facet because, there's coming in from ULM, there's a chance he thought that he would just show up on campus and be the man day one, and that didn't work out. And he, he could have taken every other avenue of complaining or whining or going to Twitter and saying I'm transferring, but he put his head down, he went to work. He's always a joy to be around, and those are the guys that you want to see succeed when their time comes, and he lit it up.
Wanted to ask you specifically, we've talked at different times this year about some of your assistant coaches, your coordinators. What about the man that's leading this wide receiver room right now and the resume that he has and brings in that I think when you can tell guys, players that are 18, 19, 20-year-olds that you've been there, you've done that, you've been to the mountaintop, that really makes a difference, maybe now more than ever with young athletes.
Yeah, I tell our staff all the time, as everyone sees the head coach, we get to do the podcasts, all the cool stuff, but in my opinion, the most brilliant head coaches that I've been around bring in great people, great staff members that they know can get what they need to get out of each position group. And David Clowney is one of those guys for me. Again, he's played at the highest level possible, played wide receiver at Virginia Tech, played with the Jets, coached in the league. And when you're out recruiting, that's what you need to start pressing is that, this is a place that you can come and you can be developed and you can have some of the best coaches in the country and be in beautiful Springfield, Missouri.
So when you hire an assistant coach, what are the attributes for which you're looking?
Well, Art, considering first and foremost we're a people-led program, so they have to be good, genuine people. Loyalty is big, and you also want an infectious mentality. You want somebody that people gravitate to, and then at the end of the day, he has to know football. He has to bring something to the table schematically that shows that he can get our players to understand our playbook, and that's one thing that's a little different here than most places. You're running NFL-style schemes on both sides of the ball, so their ability to teach, to me, is one of the most important attributes that you look for. Can you teach the scheme, and then can you motivate on game day?
You mentioned the playbook, and that came up on Monday when we visited with Dash Luke and the media availability, and Dash said that this was a playbook unlike anything that he had ever seen before, and that he was confident that if you could absorb this playbook at Missouri State University as a wide receiver, as a skill player, that you would be prepared for any next level of football. Yeah, you've got to take a lot of pride in that.
Yeah, there's no question about that. And even the NFL guys that come and we talk to them on the sideline when they're watching practice, they never once question their ability to learn. If you're in this system, you already know that you can handle and digest an NFL-style playbook. And, sometimes it can be tough for the first-year guys in the program, but what you see is the benefit of that on game day now that you have a veteran quarterback, you've got a veteran group that's out there basically calling the checks and balances themselves. They might look to Coach Petrino from time to time to kill the play, but most of the time they are getting themselves in and out of advantage runs and passes.
So next year, you're allowed 22 more scholarships than you have now. That's quite an influx. Are you expecting to fill all those spots the first year?
Yeah, absolutely. We need to get more bodies in here as quickly as possible. Obviously, part of that will be dictated by when those scholarships are available. We still have to have a few more high-level conversations in regards to how we're going to move forward financially in multiple areas of our program. But yes, we are already starting to navigate that, get our list together, and figure out where we need the bodies right off the bat.
You mentioned how they handle the players, the playbook, and knowing the checks and how to get in and out of plays and kill plays offensively. Something else you talked to me, though, a couple of weeks about was about how these guys handle success. And you and I had a conversation just coming off back-to-back wins.
Sure.
About wanting to make sure that I don't want to say tempered their enthusiasm, but you've now gone from 2 wins in a row to 4 wins in a row, plus this is homecoming week. What's kind of been the message this week as far as maybe not getting out over your skis and too full of yourself right now?
It's really served us well the whole entire year. Before the season, again, you don't have a crystal ball, you can't see how it's going, but our thought process before the season even started was to carry a 1-0 mentality. You're playing a faceless opponent week in and week out, and I think that, the source of that success has to be driven from the staff. In my opinion, and how I've been trained as a coach, is as you succeed more, you have to crank the screws down even tighter. The coaches have to be more demanding. They have to be more on top of things, and we have to continue to do a great job of making sure the players are prepped and ready to go, and then making sure that they feel that heat at practice.
Well, we've done almost this whole interview and not really mentioned Jacob Clark. I think
that's a first.
Yeah,
it is a first.
Kind of taking him for granted now that he's going to throw for 300 yards.
Oh, I'm not taking him for granted, Art. Not one single second. We are extremely blessed to have him in our football program, and his intangibles to me are just as important as his physical play. The way he leads, the way he has a calming voice to our offense, and really the entire team. You all didn't get to see this, but before we come out for half, we've had some of our captains and guys in leadership positions kind of get the guys together. This week it was Jacob Clark. So I had no doubt when he was getting the guys ready to go, getting them ready to take the field in the second half, that we were going to march down and shove it down their throat.
Well, Ryan, keep up the good work. Winning's fun, isn't it?
Oh, that's why we do it. That's why we spend the hours and the time and all those different things and pour into these young men, because, as a coach, your job is to give them the tools to excel on and off the field. And I think that, once you understand that you can be a winner, there's nothing else you want to do in life.
Football coach Ryan Beard, when the MoState update continues, we'll visit with women's soccer star Grace O'Keefe. That's coming up next. Welcome back to our first edition of MoState Update, and our guest on this segment is women's soccer senior Grace O'Keefe from Overland Park, Kansas. Grace, I know you say you are one of 4 players currently on the team from St. Thomas Aquinas in Johnson County, Kansas, and that there have been maybe 8 in recent years. What is it about that school coming to here?
I don't know. I think there's just a long legacy. Me personally, one of my best friends came here. I got to play with her 2 years in high school, played basketball and soccer with her. She spoke very highly of it down here, so I came down. Obviously, my sister's down here, a girl in the class beneath me, and then her sister as well. So it's just a long legacy down here.
Well, so you mentioned your sister on the team now, freshman, and you got to assist on her first career goal. How was that?
That was, all you could ask for. It was senior weekend, too, so I had a bunch of family up in the stands. Couldn't have really asked for more than that, I guess, yeah.
Team's really having a good season.
Yeah, we've turned it around in the preseason and non-conference play. We trusted Coach. He said, trust my process, and we did, and now we've gone undefeated in the conference now, and just really proud of how we were able to turn it around and continue throughout the conference.
Coach Nelson, really an interesting guy, and of course had a bout with the disease not too long ago that he has, I think, overcome, but has that been inspirational to the players on the team?
Absolutely. He shows up every single day and gives his best. Obviously, he's got a lot going on at home, and I mean, he just never complains. He comes there with a smile on his face every day. He said this weekend, it's not really a job for him. It's his passion. Yeah. Soccer is his life, and it's really an inspiration to all of us to get to take the field in his honor, I guess.
Well, you've had quite a successful career to this point at Missouri State, just looking at the list of accolades, whether it's been a member of the MVC Scholar Athlete team, a member of the All-Freshman team back in 2021. You got all-tournament accolades in 2022. All-MVC first team in 2022, again in 2023, and of course 2022, maybe your best year. You were the Valley Player of the Year. I mean, were those things that you had as personal goals coming into your collegiate career, or is it just kind of a happy coincidence that you've been recognized for the skill and the level at which you've been playing?
I mean, obviously that's a goal, but that's not something that I start the season in hopes of. I hope the team wins. I hope I play good, play as hard as I can every single day, but that's not something that was an end-all, be-all for me. The personal accolades are great, but winning the tournament that year was, my biggest accomplishment while I've been here. So it's definitely nice, and it's definitely a goal. I hope to continue to do it, but the team's success is obviously number one for me.
What's the strength of your game? What do you think you are best at, or maybe just that much better than when everybody else looks at the rest of the field of players, the girls on the team? What's kind of your area of expertise?
I'd say my skill level. I'm a crafty player, I guess. I've got some finesse. I'm not the one who's going to run through you at 100 miles per hour. We've got Julia doing that up front. But yeah, my skill, I've spent hours and hours off the field my whole life growing up working on my skills, and I'd say that's definitely my strong suit.
So is there a game this year that you think really that was the game that told you you'd flip this around and were contenders to win the league?
I would say maybe a couple weeks ago at Belmont. That was our first we've played a series of games now where we're playing the second team. So we're in first, and we're having to play the team that's right behind us. Belmont was one that was kind of a statement win. We went out there. I was able to get a goal in the first half, and then my roommate was able to score in the second half. That's probably when I felt like we can definitely do this year.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Missouri State women's soccer has never won the league in regular season?
We have never won it in regular season. We've come up short the last 2 years, second place. So hopefully, this is my last year. It's with my sister, with all my best friends. That's 100% the goal.
I'm curious, you talked about, when I asked you about maybe your skill set, you talked about being skillful, crafty. You talked about how much work you put in to get to that point. I'm always curious about the conditioning work that goes into being a collegiate soccer player, because I don't think most people realize, these girls or guys come off the pitch afterwards. They've basically run a 5K and then some by the time they're done with their hour or so of game. What is the conditioning like leading up to the start of the season? And then does the conditioning work go away during the season, or is it throughout the year? Because I imagine it's pretty intense.
Yeah, kind of like you said, we have some GPS trackers that track exactly how much we run. I'd say on average I'm running about 9 miles a game.
9 miles?
9 miles,
Jeez.
yeah. No, it's a lot. So.
That's a lot more than a 5K. I was way underselling that. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. In the summers, yeah, it's a lot of running. I'd say I run 4 or 5 days a week, sprint training on treadmills, getting out. There's a trail behind my house in Overland Park. So I run on that with my sister pretty often. But yeah, it's tough. You've definitely got to take care of it in the summer. You can't come day one preseason and expect to get in shape. We play 6 days after we get here, so you've got to be in shape, and luckily once you start playing games you kind of stay in shape. So
it's hard to imagine because that to me tells me that you're like a two-sport athlete, because all of a sudden it's like, so you're a soccer player, but you could easily be a cross-country runner, a track athlete. How many different sports did you play in high school, or were you just exclusively soccer?
So I played basketball my freshman year. I won a state championship. Again, like I said, with that former soccer player here, Kylie Jackson. She's a big reason why I came here. Mm-hmm. And then I decided to stop playing basketball, focus on my soccer career, and then picked up bowling, actually. I did bowling in high school. JV, most improved player.
Wow. Is that trophy in the dorm or the apartment somewhere?
Yeah, well, it's back at home up on my wall, yeah.
So, of course, soccer fans are familiar with the substitution rules. I think fans of other sports in America can't quite understand why you can't take somebody out and then put them back in later on. But that's the way it is. So that's really strategic as to when substitutions take place.
Definitely, yeah. It also plays into the fitness that you talked about. Your coach needs you, especially in the first half. For the college game, if you come out in the first half, you can't go back in the first half. Then in the second half, it's open back up and people can go in and out. But that first half, you need to make sure that you're fit to play the full 45 for your team.
Say that's been one of the things I've tried to wrestle with this year and understand the difference, because it seems like the rules are different at almost every level now in soccer, whether it's the high school rules to the collegiate rules, and obviously the collegiate rules to the pro rules now. What do you think about the expansion of the sport now with women's soccer becoming so much more popular? Obviously, on an Olympic level, on a World Cup level, the U.S. women have had a lot more success in recent years than the men's game has. Is that something that you follow? Are you a fan of the pro game?
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously being from Kansas City, the Kansas City Current Stadium, it's huge in the city. Everyone's going to the games now. I mean, I've got several friends and family who have season tickets. It's just a really fun, exciting buzz. And obviously there's a lot of girls on the team that are looking to play professional after. And just, I'm so excited for them that they have that opportunity.
What are you hoping to do afterwards? Because you didn't seem to really lump yourself in with that group.
Yeah, I mean, I considered it for a little bit. But I'm studying mechanical engineering, and I've accepted a job down in Dallas. So I'm going to go that route. I definitely considered it for a little bit, but I'm hoping to just go out on a high this year and, look to that next chapter in my life.
Well, Grace, good luck with that. And in the meantime, keep up the good work on the pitch.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Grace O'Keefe joining us on MoState Update. Stay with us. We'll be back. Well, our next guest is legendary, recently retired Bears baseball coach Keith Guttin. Now looking at it from a, fan's perspective. We'll talk all about that, but first of all, Keith, you had a chance last weekend. It's kind of a bucket list thing for a lot of sports fans.
Not for me, but it was my daughter's choice at the MSU athletic auction in the fall. She purchased the Green Bay Packers package for 4, and since I was at the table and her mother wasn't, I got chosen to go. But so it was my daughter, her husband, my other daughter, myself, and we had a really nice time. We had our golf tournament Friday, and that went well, and just woke up Saturday morning, drove to Kansas City, flew to Chicago, drove to Green Bay, and spent a couple nights up there and really got a chance to experience the Green Bay hospitality.
Well, I know you're used to bundling up from all those February and March baseball games early in the season, so saw the picture. It looked like you were ready for the weather. How'd it go?
I came prepared, Art. Well, layers are the key. You can't block wind, but you can maneuver yourself. So there, the seating, which was new to me, all benches.
Yeah.
All benches. So we're on an aluminum bench that's wet because it had rained, and it was raining. And when you get in there, it's tight. I mean, you don't have 2 armrests.
Yeah.
You don't have a cushion for your behind. I mean, you're meeting your neighbors, so to speak. But overall, great experience. Packers are really good. I'm very impressed with Jordan Love. It was a really good fan experience.
Well, of course, with Bears baseball now, Joey Hawkins takes over the program. You brought him here. He played for you. He coached under you. And I know this was the plan when he came here, that he'd be the successor.
Yeah, and it wasn't discussed when he came here 3 years ago, but, obviously my time was running short, and I thought this is a guy that's very passionate about Missouri State and baseball, and put those two together, I think we've got a great young coach here.
Well, and so you missed the battle for Bell as a result of being in Green Bay, but power show by the Bears, and that's a continuation of last year.
Yeah, I like their lineup for sure. I've been out there several times, watched them inter-squad, and I couldn't really go to the game Saturday. I don't think that would have went well around my house.
Yeah.
Just like this coming Saturday, talking to Ryan Beard this morning in Forsyth, I said, Ryan, I want to go to the game Saturday desperately, but we're moving. Not far.
Yeah.
In Springfield,
yeah.
And kind of dropped the hint a little bit, and that didn't go very far at all.
Yeah.
So it's going to take a rain delay in our move for me to get over to the Bears game against Indiana State.
I think that's a solid decision.
Yeah, going forward.
Well, it's definitely the right move considering who you have to share that living space with going forward. But, that was the first battle for Bell I'm sure that you have missed. But it's still the score, the outcome is what it is. Still a great event to honor a great former Bear.
Well, I've told this to Kim Bell a number of times. I've told it to Scott Nasby. From my perspective, as long as Howard Bell's name is attached to it, Missouri State will play in this game, where some might look at it and go, well, what do you gain playing in non-division? Well, first off, Drury's good. They're competitive. I've got great respect for Scott. Paul's over there now. Their assistants are good. And I think anytime you can play somebody else, it kind of spruces up your fall practice. It's a game I know our guys look forward to. And, most of the games have been extremely competitive.
Well, one thing that was a problem last year was bullpen. 6 1/3 innings of one-hit shutout ball in the game on Saturday night, so that's a big improvement.
Yeah, I think there's more arm talent there, Art, essentially from what I've seen. The freshman from Canada threw extremely well, and he's been good all fall. Wouldn't shock me to see him very instrumental on the weekend this year. Getting Garrett Ferguson back to where he was his freshman year, and I understand he had a very nice inning. They've thrown Bogenpool some. He's healthy at the moment. Don't want to do anything to interrupt his offensive capabilities, his ability to play the outfield, but that's another good arm. Got a Portal guy, Max Knight, who played first, that can also pitch. So I think there's good arm talent there, and Deck has a way about him. He's easygoing. I think 12 years of professional baseball and a couple of years in the big leagues. He's got a lot to offer.
The team's made a couple of changes other than, of course, Joey's promotion after your retirement. You mentioned Deck McGuire coming in as the new pitching coach, and then the staff got to bring back a guy in Jeremy Colonna, who I know is a local favorite for sure, former Glendale Falcon.
Well, he's one of my favorites, I can tell you that. He was great when he was here the first time around. Always aspired to see what professional baseball would be like from the coaching end. And, Jeremy was a guy that the Mets liked and other organizations liked, and he had a tough decision to make. He decided to come back. I'm excited about that. But having a really good catching coach, that's not all he is, but having a really good catching coach is quite a luxury in college baseball.
So understand you're going to be part of commentary for Bears games.
Well, if Corey Riggs and Art Hains think I can handle it, I'm excited about that opportunity. Now, I haven't returned the contract yet, but the Valley has offered me the opportunity to do TV at the conference tournament.
Excellent.
So Jack was very clear that I'm on the B team, that Shane Dennis had retired, and my former roommate and your former pitcher on the Pop Small Shop softball team has now been listed as an A-lister, along with Scott Warman, and I'll be with Tom Ackerman. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun, as getting an opportunity, if I get one, to do some Bears color on the radio. I think that'd be terrific.
Yeah, it's a pretty good B team, I think, with you and Ackerman. I think.
Yeah, I would say it's very good, and I say make sure everybody understands. There's no question about whether or not Coach Guttin will do any color on the road this year. It's just a question of which games he wants to come to. There will always be a headset with his name on it, because talking about somebody who's forgotten more about baseball than I know at this point in my career, and I think people will really enjoy it. Was it ever really something that you thought about doing? I mean, this seems kind of, I don't know, for me, surprising, just knowing you the way I have for the last few years, that this is even something that you'd want to do.
Well, I never thought about it while I was, coaching full time. Sure. It never came to mind, but I enjoy things like we're doing today. I mean, I enjoy radio. I enjoy the opportunity to just speak off the cuff, and I just think it'd be fun to stay involved in an objective, neutral fashion, which may be hard at times. But, I can just see myself doing the Evansville, Indiana State game in the conference tournament, and fans calling in and going, hey, that guy was for one team or the other. I mean, that's just part of the deal.
Well, sure. It's you don't, when you do radio with Art and I, you can be impartial. You can talk about the Bears as much as you want. I say it's only really Jack and the Valley that have those rules where they want you to call it straight down the middle.
Yeah, and I haven't done it before. So it's exciting, and I'm sure I'll learn from two of the best here, and I'm looking forward to that opportunity.
So, Keith, what else are you doing now around the university?
Well, I work part-time for the baseball program. It's called Director of Special Projects, which would be equivalent to fundraising. So we just completed our golf tournament on Friday at Millwood. Had a great outing, 165 to 70 golfers. I think looking at our dollars and cents today, because I was in Green Bay yesterday, it's going to probably be the most profitable tournament we've had. Because we had 50 former players, probably 8 former big league celebrities that were former Bears or other schools. We had donors, we had corporate teams, we had the community get behind it. Millwood's a terrific place to play, so that's one event. December 4th is our date for Step Up to the Plate. Last year we had Ozzie Smith. There's only one Ozzie Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that was a very successful event for us. We're very, very close to confirming our guests this year, which I can't speak about, obviously, until we do, but I don't think anybody's going to be disappointed. And then we've got a tentative date of January 25th for Bears' first pitch, which might coincide with another MSU athletic event that day, which I'm not able to release. But so that kind of stuff. And then the NIL. We didn't want to get in the business. Nobody does. And people look at me, and when I retired and told my wife that, I want to give something back financially to the university, and she said, you can give anything you want, you're just not giving to that blank NIL. That was my wife.
Yeah.
And edited. Well done.
And but we had a situation last year where we had a great player who had a great freshman year, and this is year to year now, fellas, and this is business. And I think Joey was very proactive in meeting with the family and spelling out the things that that young man would be benefited by staying at Missouri State. One, his development as a player, and Joey recruited him. He was his hitting coach, and I think they have a very good relationship. And then we were able to help him financially with his scholarship, and then we got in the NIL business, certainly not to the degree Power Fives would be, but he showed some loyalty, and he's back, and we're happy.
It can't be easy, and I know you're now stepping away from the game, at least as in the head coaching regards, but the concept of having to constantly recruit your players and give them new reasons why they need to stay in Springfield or stay as a Bear has got to be maddening for somebody like you that did it for 4 decades before, and it was, hey, if you got them down here as a freshman, that was it. They were here until either they graduated, dropped out, or got drafted.
Well, that's not why I retired, or a lot of reasons why I retired. First and foremost, because it was time, and it was the best thing for all involved. But 2, that's not me. I don't think I would thrive in that situation, but it is what it is. We've got a whiteboard down there in the coaches area, and Deck McGuire, who's rather humorous when you get to know him. On the whiteboard it said, we don't like it, but we like good players.
That's good.
And that kind of sums it up right there.
It does. Well, Keith, we appreciate the visit here today, and looks like you're going to stay pretty busy in retirement.
Yeah, and it's stuff I like doing. I've done it before, and I think any way I can help the program going forward, I want to do.
Coach Keith Guttin joining us. Stay with us. We'll put a bow on this one, our first ever MoState update, right after this. Well, thanks for joining us on our first MoState update as we thank Grace O'Keefe from women's soccer, football coach Ryan Beard, and Keith Guttin, who's always amazing and great guest the first week. Next week, we know athletic director Patrick Ransdell will be on the show, and things are kind of fluid other than that, depending on schedule changes and such. But
well, you would be surprised at how hard it is to pin down coaches and players between practice schedules, game schedules, class schedules, and other things that kind of pop up on there. But we appreciate Rick Kindheart and Megan and Ben and everybody in the Sports Information Department here at Missouri State for working with us to try and clean up everybody's schedules and get us to where we can bring you a new podcast with new guests each week.
So, of course, this week is homecoming. I invite you to come on out and participate in any or all of those activities. We'll be talking about that next week and the result of the game with Indiana State. Also, a men's soccer home game Sunday night against Bowling Green.
That's right. Missouri State men's soccer, Coach Seabold's team will be at home. Bowling Green, 7 o'clock at night. If you're going to come out for that, we hope that you will. It's a blackout game, so make sure and wear your black. And I think the first few hundred folks through the turnstiles will get the black Missouri State headband that they gave away at the blackout game for football as well. So if you didn't get one of those at football the first time, you can get one at soccer. And if you're wanting to know what the other things that are going on campus that aren't athletics related, you can go to the website that's on your screen. alumni.missouri.state.edu/homecoming is the Missouri State University website. Art made mention of the Golden Bears celebration and some of the other things that are going on that aren't athletics related. All of that can be found at alumni.missouri.state.edu/homecoming, and that's where you can go online and see what else is going on and make sure to make time for the parade and everything else on Saturday.
Still have my John Leamy scarf, Gryffindor, the maroon and white, and love it.
So do I. I've got one of those, and I say, it's finally. It was almost cool enough this morning to wear a scarf. It was like 55 degrees when I went out the garage this morning. It finally starting to feel like football weather.
Absolutely. Well, that's our first Inside MoState Sports update. Thanks to all of you for being with us. Art Hains, Corey Riggs. So long, everybody.
You've been listening to the MoState Update with Art Hains and Corey Riggs. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation on the Missouri State Sports Network.